Hi there, here's Christina from Changing Parenting. And if you ever seen one of the episodes of Super Nanny, you know that one of the methods she uses is timeouts. So she has this rule that, like, if a child is 1 year old, you do 1 minute timeout. If the child is 5 years old, you do 5 minutes timeout, and so on. And if you have been following me, you know I'm very much against timeouts. And I want to make in this video showing you like why, what the research says. It's not just my opinion, because in parenting, I strongly believe that you should listen to your instincts, but you should not really follow other people's opinions. You should base your, decisions, your parenting decisions on, research and what research shows. So I don't want to give you my opinion. That doesn't matter. I'm going to give you why the reason why this is not good. So the first one is that timeouts trigger a stress response. I talk a lot about this, like timeouts are based on this idea of that children are going to sit there and think about what they did. But children are not there sitting, oh, I threw my toy on the floor. That's really bad because it might break the toy and it might break the furniture, and I shouldn't do that. No, actually what happens is that neuroscience shows that this triggers really a fight or flight response because it increases cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and this inhibits learning. So children, to learn, they need to feel connected. So what happens instead is that they are there thinking, I'm an awful kid. My parents don't like me when I'm like this. It must be really wrong feeling this way, because children, all challenging behavior is basically your child needing skills. They are feeling something, thinking something, wanting something. They don't know the appropriate way to deal with that. They don't have the skills to deal with that. And so they let their emotions mindlessly run the show. And, when you just tell them, go and think about what you did, go to timeout, sit over there and think about what you did, they are not thinking they did something wrong and why they did something wrong. They are thinking it's wrong to think, want, and feel these things. This is wrong. I must be an awful person. Other people don't think, want, and feel these things, and this is really bad, right? Because I focus on ages 3 to 6, and this is the age group when children are really forming their core beliefs, and you don't want them to believe those things about themselves. You want to show them, no, this is normal. Everyone wants, feels, thinks exactly what you're thinking, wanting, and feeling right now. It is very normal, and what you did is not the appropriate way to deal with that. Here, I'm going to teach you. These are the skills you need. Teaching. Parenting is about teaching. Other reason, disconnection. Timeouts create disconnection, not learning. So you need to connect in order to be able to regulate. This is like the most... if you want to help your child self-regulate their emotions, the best way you can do this is through connection. That's why in positive discipline, we always connect before we correct. Because when your emotions are very high, you cannot access the rational part of your brain. That's why when you are very upset, you end up saying and doing things you later regret, because you're not thinking rationally. And the children are the same. And in order for children to co-regulate, to regulate their emotions, the best way they can do this is by when they don't have the skills to do that by themselves yet, because again, their brains are still very underdeveloped. The best way they can achieve this is through co-regulation. So when you are helping them regulate, and that doesn't happen when you just send them away to deal with their emotions by themselves, because they either will bottle them up or explode with them. They will not magically learn the skills of self-regulation. That just doesn't happen like that, right? You need to model regulation skills. You need to, help them bring it down. And the best way you can do this is by connecting first. You connect, you empathize. When you are upset and someone empathizes and really you feel heard, that's when you bring it down and you start being like, yeah, someone understands me. And then your emotions go down. You're able to access the rational part of your brain. And actually, it's like when you're discussing something with someone, like let's say your partner, and you have, opposite opinions. If you both go into it in a very defensive state, you will not reach any agreement because you will just be firing at each other. The best way that you can get someone to cooperate with you and to actually listen to you is by connecting first, is by empathizing. I understand you are feeling this and that, and it must be really hard for you, and blah, 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 bring that person down. Then you can correct. And it was not okay when you said that to me because it made me feel this and that. When the person feels connected to you, they are much more willing to listen to what you have to say. Also, when you punish a child, when you put them in timeout, this creates shame, right? Children feel like they are only worth of your love when they behave in a way that you find acceptable, creates people pleasing, right? Children will start behaving in front of you in a way that they think you will agree with, not because they understand why the behavior is wrong, but because they know that that's how you love them. Because when they behave in a way that you like, you give them love. When they behave in a way that you don't like, you send them away and they have to be alone and they are no longer wanted, no longer desired. And parenting is about unconditional love, right? Your child could be a serial killer and you will still love them. Because love, and you can love a child even when they behave wrong, right? You still love them. Doesn't mean that you agree with what they did, but you still love them. And because you love them, you want to teach them the skills so that they don't do that again in the future, so that they know how to deal with that even when you're not there, and so that they won't do it even if you're not there, because it's not about you at all. Because when you do it with rewards and punishments, then it's about you, right? If you're not there, why should they behave? They have no incentive to behave. They will just get really good at doing things in a way that you don't find out. So another reason is because it misses the cause. So when you are punishing the behavior, you're not actually focusing on what's causing the behavior. Again, as I explained, the wants, needs, desires, right? So you're just punishing in the moment, but it will continue happening again because you're not dealing with what's behind. If your child threw the Lego on the floor, it depends on why, right? You need to find out why. And if it was, for instance, because they were frustrated because the Lego tower couldn't be built, then they need to learn skills to deal with frustration. What do I do next time that I'm frustrated? You need to teach them that. You need to explain, sometimes it's really frustrating when you put all this effort into building something and it's not working. And when we do this, we cannot throw it on the floor because this and this and that. And instead, what can we do? Maybe we can think about other ways of building it so that, looking at, failures not as a failure, but as a growth opportunity, teaching a growth mindset. These are all skills that it's your job as a parent to teach. So parenting is not about punishing, it's about teaching skills. I give you also some examples of research that was done. So there was one study that showed that timeouts are linked to increased problem behaviors over time. So they actually have the opposite effect. This is shown by research. There's another study that shows that harsh discipline that includes isolation, so timeouts, predicts worse behavior and worse emotional regulation in children over time. So they will have a harder time self-regulating. They will have a harder time. It will escalate the behavior to create more power struggles. Another study shows that that the need for responsive, supportive caregiving, especially during emotional distress, that this is so important. When children are feeling all these emotions, you need to be supportive, not punishing, right? This is research showing. This is not just me saying. So if you have any questions, let me know. But in any case, I strongly recommend this again. And it's not just me. The American Pediatrics Association, they also recommend that children are raised through positive parenting. They warn of the dangers of punishing, of timeouts. So I strongly advise you not to listen to Super Nanny. And if you need any help, if you want to know how to change your child's behavior using positive discipline, check out the link in my bio.